had the most amazing career. She's an amazing actress. She's an amazing woman. I love her dearly, and I want you to give her a raucous round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Paula Wilcox. Thank you so much. Gosh, it's nice to be here. Hello. We're going to start right at the beginning.
I was so anxious when they asked for boys and girls to come up on the stage. I was so anxious that I knocked the lady in front of me's hat off, because I wanted to get up on the stage. I thought I might have to climb over her chair, but I knocked her hat off, and I never did get on the stage. I never did get on the stage of a panto, but so it remained a dream. And then, you know, much later on, I don't know, I just thought it was it just felt like such an exciting thing to do, you know, and I really liked singing and dancing, and I used to copy all the people on the television and do impersonations of them. And I know one day I even did the whole of a song from South Pacific for our neighbour, Honey Bun, 101 Pounds of Fun. I just had the sort of yen, but it wasn't really anything that people did who came from Manchester. And but then years later, I went with the school to see a play, and it was a Shakespeare play, and it was called Henry IV Part 1. And a lot of the play happened in a pub in Shakespeare's time, a hostelry. And when we went to see the play, these scenes in the pub really came to life. And I was about 14 by then, and I thought, my goodness, this is like all the lads that we know from the local school. Because all these actors were on stage, and they were so good that it made me think, oh, they're just like real people. And this was Shakespeare. And from then on, I thought, that's what I want to do. Because real people were being represented on stage, and I thought, I can do that. And yeah, so that was my sort of dream. Then it became serious, because I saw a proper play and saw how I could be part of that.
Absolutely, and is that what drove you into the National Youth Theatre, which is where
I saw a poster at school when I was, again, about 15, 16, for the National Youth Theatre, and it really spoke to me, because it was asking for kids who were at school to do acting in the summer holidays. And I applied, but they said I was too young, and then I just applied again, and until I got a part in a play in London with the National Youth Theatre, and that's how my career kicked off, really.
It's a brilliant place for all actors to start, indeed it is. And in fact, when you were very, very young, you shot immediately, because you shot to fame because you got the Lovers.
Yes, I was in a play in London at the Janetta Cochrane Theatre, and with the Youth Theatre, and I was 18, and I was playing a girl who worked in a factory in a play called The Apprentices by Peter Turson. And Jack Rosenthal was in the audience one night, because they were looking for two young people from the north to be in The Lover, in a sitcom called The Lovers. And they got me up to Granada to audition for it, which was great, because it was just home. And I auditioned, and I got the part. And I didn't believe it when they said I got the part, because I wasn't an actress. I hadn't been to drama school or anything. And so they said, but we can't do it immediately, because Jack Rosenthal is writing another sitcom. So, you know, come back in a year. And I thought, oh yeah, very likely. I'm sure that happens all the time. But in fact, they kept me busy for that year. They kept offering me work. So I was in a couple of sitcoms with them, and then Yorkshire Television offered me a part. So by the time I did The Lovers, I had done quite a lot of telly.
Coronation Street as well.
I had done 3 weeks in Coronation Street, and the day after the first one went out, I was walking past a building site, and all the lads on the building site started shouting, "Hiya, Janice!" And I was so shocked, because it was instant in those days, because everybody watched the same programmes at the same time. So the next day, I was famous. It's really strange.
And very young, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, before that, then you became more and more famous as you've gone along. All actors always wanted to do. Derek Nimmo used to do those Far East plays. And all actors wanted to do them because we toured the Far East with it.
Yeah.
And of course, he chose you. You were very lucky. Tell us about them. Did you enjoy them?
Yeah, that was much later. That was in the 80s. That was after I'd done. That was after I'd done The Lovers and Man About the House and other things. And we used to go to these ballrooms in posh hotels, and they'd put us up in the hotels. And we had everything paid for, except alcohol. But we had everything, all your dry cleaning and everything was paid for, because you were on stage every night. But they used to build a set in the ballroom, and they built the set out of plywood, real wood. So there were no curtains or anything. It was just, everything was made of wood. So it was very kind of grand and exciting. And I remember one time, Derek Nimmo was in the play with me, and it was like one of those West End comedies, and it was all about playing tennis, and people were having drinks and calling each other darling and things. And the phone was meant to ring. There was a phone there that was supposed to ring, and it began to ring too early in the play, and it rang. And it rang, and it rang, and we kept trying to go on with the play. But it rang, and it rang. Eventually, Derek Nimmo said, I think I'll get that. So he walked up to the phone and said, hello? And the reception of the hotel had put a call from London through to the phone on stage. They said, oh, we know where he is. Just one moment, we'll put you right through. And he said, I'm terribly sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm fairly busy. I'll call you later. Put the phone down, and the play carried on, and it was all fine. But very strange times we had. He was a great leader of men, was Derek, and he would take us out on expeditions around, mountains and the canals in Kuala Lumpur, no, not in Kuala Lumpur, in Kuala Lumpur, and the canals were so tricky to navigate, and lots of adventures in the jungle.
And lots of lovely people did that.
Yeah.
Did that tour. Yeah, it was a very popular one. Let's talk about Man About the House, because it's just gone down, hasn't it? It's gone down in TV history. Have you got any memories?
I did a Benny Hill show, at Thames.
Oh, you did a Benny Hill show?
I did a Benny Hill show, and I remember at one, I was just in this one sketch with Ben, and it was a nice little sketch. And at one point, he said to me, I think it might be rather nice if you just bend over the sofa at this point. And I said, that's not in the script, Benny. And he said, no, but it would be nice though, wouldn't it? Be nice. And I said, it wouldn't be nice at all. I'm not doing that. He was really shocked. But anyway, because the Benny Hill show was done at Thames Television, the guys from Thames Television said that they were working on a sitcom with Richard O'Sullivan, and would I be interested in doing it? So I said yes, and that became Man About the House, and Sally joined, and then they said, we've got this great couple to play the landlord and landlady, and it was Brian Murphy and Eutha Joyce. And we knew them a bit because they'd been at Stratford East at the Theatre Royal. Eutha had done loads of films and was really, really clever and famous. And Brian was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So the three of us were the kind of naughty crew downstairs, the youngsters. And Brian and Eutha were the grown-ups upstairs. And I remember the first rehearsal that we ever had when we all got together. And there was a kind of meet and greet and saying hello. And I think within about 10 minutes, we were all so relaxed and so happy and chattering away. And it was like that for the next 3 years. It was absolutely joyous. And they couldn't have put together a better team. We just liked each other from the word go. The scripts were marvellous. You know how you sometimes read about scripts being fiddled around with because people don't think they're very funny, or we can tweak this joke or tweak that joke? There was none of that. Brian and Johnny, who the writers, had worked on the script so much that there was nothing that you could really do to improve them. And except, of course, cast someone like Brian Murphy, who could play a line like nobody else, slightly looking at the camera but not quite. And you know, and Eutha, and we used to watch their scenes because they were just so brilliant together. I remember Eutha coming in one day and saying, "Darling, I found the most marvellous pair of trousers for Mildred. They had bananas all over them." Do you remember? You might remember them actually. They were featured quite a lot. She was so thrilled.
Didn't you have Roy Kinnear come in? For
Yes, we did. Do you know who Roy Kinnear is? Yeah. He was so brilliant, and he made us all laugh. In fact, I think Brian had great trouble keeping a straight face, and that's not like Brian because he's very, very professional. But when he and Roy got together, I mean, Roy could sort of slightly improvise on something. So he'd sort of he was Jerry the builder, and he was a real dodgy builder. And he used to do things like he was writing something on something on a blackboard or something to explain something, right? And he goes like, and he goes, "What do you think?" And "what do you think" isn't in the script. So Brian's just losing it, watching Roy being so funny. And Brian, and then of course Roy picks it up and starts to laugh. So by the end of it, I think Eutha joined in as well, and the whole thing, we had to stop the show. "Okay, everybody, settle down. And then we all had to go, and go, "Well, we're very serious now." And you tried to keep a straight face. It was very hard with Roy. I remember Eutha once saying to Roy, "Darling, we're going to do panto. I've never done panto before. We're doing it in the West End at the Palladium. And Brian and I are playing the Ugly Sisters. Roy, darling, you know so much about panto. Have you got any hints?" And he said, "Oh, yes, Eutha." He said, "What you have to do is you have to get very, very big billing, because the bigger your name on the poster, the bigger you laugh when you come on, right?" He said, "You have to have a television and a fridge in your dressing room, because believe me, you never get out of there. And the other thing is, when they come round with the hot cross buns, you're not dreaming, it is Easter."
Yeah, they used to go on, didn't they? Pantomime used to go on forever in those days. Now, of course, they're much shorter. Were you sad that you didn't marry Richard?
No, everybody else was. I thought it was brilliant.
Sad.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant that I didn't. I thought it was such a kind of interesting ending to the whole thing. But I did get people coming up to me in the street saying, "How could you?" and I'm afraid Norman Ashley got much worse. "You swine!" And women used to say, "How could you do that to your own brother?" I know, people take it all so seriously.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, wonderful. I mean, Norman was wonderful, but I think the whole of England wanted Richard and you to run off into the sunset, but there you go. We don't always get what we want. You went straight into something else with your son.
Oh, Miss Jones's son.
Yes.
Yes, there was a brief show of it there. Yeah, I played an unmarried mother that was written by a wonderful writer called Richard Waring, and people were quite, they thought it was a bit too daring. A sitcom about an unmarried mother they thought was a bit near the knuckle, and a bit not quite the thing. But in fact it was very popular and did really well. And Richard, I think it was because it was written by Richard Waring, who couldn't write anything nasty or rude if he tried, I don't think. He was such a gentleman. So yeah, that was really quite a big success.
Yeah, it was a lovely series. I mean, everything you've done has been pretty superb in one way or another. You've had the most wonderful career that actors dream of all different things. I mean, personally, you were in the vaudeville in Great Expectations. I know we're jumping a lot forward, but it's something very, very, very different, and something you were particularly superb in. I'd just like to ask you about Dickens. I mean, how did you feel about the writing? I know we will say Shakespeare's wonderful, which he is still, and poetic, but a lot of people of nowadays criticise Dickens' work for overwriting. I wonder how you felt.
Oh, I like Dickens. Great Expectations was the book that we did at school, I think for O-level, and so I got to know it quite well, and actually watched the film with Gene Simmons and John Mills, which directed by David Lean, which was wonderful. And we saw that. I think we might even have been shown that at school. That's how long ago it was. And so I really, really loved that book and was intrigued by the character of Miss Havisham. So I was asked to do it, and it was an interesting production because it was told from Pip's point of view, and so it was Pip coming on and walking into Miss Havisham's house years after the story had taken place. And he's standing there, and as he's standing there, the ghosts, as he's telling the story, the ghosts of the people that he's mentioning appear from the walls, literally, and climb into the room and surround him, and it's all a bit kind of weird and ghostly. And I was, I know I had my the horrible frock that Miss Havisham wears, the big, long-lost wedding dress that's now in shreds and tatters. And I was sort of sitting like this against the wall for about 25 minutes before I was seen, so I had to be really still. And then, you'd appear, and everyone would go, oh! It was wonderful. I did that in a play called Blind Spirit by Noel Coward that we did in Kuala Lumpur with the Derek Nimmo Company. And I was playing a ghost in it, and I had my whole face painted green and my hands painted green, and a white wig, a bit like Marilyn Monroe, and this costume that never stopped moving. It was like silk crepe or something. It was beautiful. And even when I was standing still, the slight breeze would make the costume move. And I was in the lift making my way down to the backstage area, and we went down past the kitchens using the back lift, the service lift, and the doors opened at one of the floors en route, and it was one of the kitchen floors, and there were two kitchen porters standing there who were Malaysian, and they had all their white stuff on. The doors opened, and I was standing there with a light over my head, with this green makeup on, white wig, and this weird dress, floaty sort of dress, and they both looked at me and went, ah! And leapt away, and the doors closed, and I went on my way. I often think of them actually, and think, I wonder if they ever found out that there was a play going on, downstairs.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Going back into Corrie, how did it feel? Going back into
that was weird.
Because that was
that was
such a
weird.
good age.
Because when I'd first done Corrie, it was in like 1970, and I think we did two episodes a week, and you rehearsed for a couple of days, and then you'd shoot for one day. And now, gosh, when I went back into it, it was COVID time, and you shoot such a lot now, and there are so many characters in it. It was really different, and it was like jumping onto a roundabout, a roundabout that was moving quite speedily, and having to get right into the middle of it and do your lines. It was so fast and so demanding, really. It was fabulous. I mean, it was really scary, but very, very good to do. And it made me have great respect for the people who do it, and everyone of the crew as well, because everybody's working, flat out. And the minute you finish a scene, it's not like people go up and go, "Wasn't that marvellous? Darling, you were tremendous." You just get first AD going, "Moving on. Come on, folks, we've got 2 more pages to do before, a quarter of an hour or something." It's really fast now. But like I say, it's just demanding in a different way.
Yeah, and you did Emmerdale as well.
Yes, Emmerdale was earlier, that was about 20 years before, so that was back in the more sort of peaceable. And also because you're filming in the countryside on Emmerdale, it's really nice. I really enjoyed that, in fact. It was a happy time. Nice people.
I'm afraid we've run out of time. You're just totally fabulous. Fabulous. Isn't she wonderful? Yeah.